Welcome back to Thinking Critical. This is Wes. Now, normally we talk about comic books for the most part here on the channel, but it's Mania season. We've got WrestleMania 2-night extravaganza coming up this weekend. I said, hey, a good friend of the channel owns a comic shop. He also talks about wrestling all the time. Might as well bring on Heel Uel on the channel. We talk about WrestleMania, preview both nights of the big show. How you doing, Uel?
I'm wonderful. This is the best week to be a wrestling fan because not only do you have your normal television, but Japan is in full force. NXT, another WWE brand, had their big show. Impact moved to Thursdays, and then of course we're going to culminate this whole weekend this week up with WrestleMania 2 nights. Can't wait.
Yeah, Ring of Honor normally tries to do something big, so everyone puts their best foot forward during WrestleMania week. Now, I want to say this. If you enjoy this talk, there's a chance if you enjoy this and you let us know in the comments section, perhaps you and I can do like a 1-hour wrestling recap where we talk about all the WWE, AEW, maybe Ring of Honor type stuff here on the channel. But you got to let us know if this is what you want.
Yeah, let us know.
Because so happens I'm a big wrestling fan, but I talk mostly comics here on the channel. So you ready to get into WrestleMania? This is going to be the first live audience that we've had for a WWE event in over a year?
Pretty much. They've had in their CWC arena for NXT, there have been mostly workers within their their company. But last night they had some fans in, and then this is going to be probably like 20,000 people or something like that.
Yeah, this will be McMahon's worst nightmare. Finally, an audience that he can't control.
You mean not television screens with people's faces on, and if they're picking their nose too long, they'll just switch out somebody else that was on like a week ago?
Yeah, and you can tell that they give them instructions on what they're supposed to say, and if they're not doing the right thing, they'll just pipe in whatever it is that they wanted to say anyway.
It's on Raw and SmackDown, especially on Raw. The audience noise is so stupidly it's not like a laugh track. Like, oh, those people obviously weren't laughing to that joke, but at least it sounds good. It never sounds good, and they pipe it up so loud sometimes. Like during the Hall of Fame, which was on Tuesday, Kane comes out, he's accepting it, he's talking about his career, and there's all this crowd noise, but it just sounds like white noise, and you can't hear Kane over it, and it's just annoying.
I agree. So I'm excited to get live fans now. This is the one night only. They're going back to the Yuengling Center, at least for a few months, I believe through July, to do their WWE Raw and SmackDown shows. So, All right, let's get into the card. The first match on night number 1 is going to be Tag Team Turmoil. This is a late edition. Lana and Naomi versus Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose versus the Riot Squad, Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott versus Natalya and Tamina versus Billie Kay and Carmella. Now, I believe this is going to be like a number 1 contenders match for the next night, correct?
Yeah.
So I have seen little of note from any of these teams. The only thing that's popping out in my mind is Natalya and Tamina were recently on Talking Smack, and they got like a big promo with Paul Heyman where he was kind of motivating him, like lighting the fire on him. So I'm assuming that's why this match is here, so they can win and then go and challenge for the titles the next night.
I don't know if anybody's going to be able to take off the women's tag belts from Shayna and Nia Jax unless Nia Jax and Shayna beat each other up, It's like none of these teams feel like they are of such a high standard that they can actually hold the women's belts, take the women's belts, whatever the women's belts. But it definitely feels like the champion should be dethroned, but I just don't see who it's going to be.
Well, it should be. Who was Billie Kay's old partner?
Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. It should have been the Iconics. They were a real team, and they split them apart stupidly.
For no reason. Neither of them been doing anything except for Billie Kay's been, I guess, trying to bribe people with headshots.
Trying to bribe people and get in a tag again, and it's not working. And that's probably the funniest story, or I should say the most exciting story around the tag division is whether or not Billie Kay is ever going to get another partner.
So she's with Carmella. I don't see anyone but Natalya and Tamina winning this one. Just from what I saw on Talking Smack, it feels like this was almost added because of that. Who are you picking as a winner?
Definitely not the fans watching.
No.
I'm gonna hope that we can get. I kind of, you know what? I think Lana and Naomi, and I'll tell you why. Lana has all those table spots that she did with Nia. She actually has a couple of wins over Nia, and they at least Naomi and Lana at least have a sort of cohesive look as a tag team. And if I'm looking for an upset, since I think all these teams would be an upset, that would be the one I'd go for.
All right, so the next match, I think this has got the potential to be like that Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Macho Man, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, like show stealer that's kind of in the mid card, but is easily the best match. I think it's Cesaro, Seth Rollins. Cesaro is such a disappointment. Not the fact that he's not a good wrestler or anything. I think he's actually a pretty okay promo. He's underrated. But WWE just never does anything with him. I think just letting him and Seth Rollins like let loose for 15 or 20 minutes, I think is going to be great.
Yeah, Cesaro is wonderful. There was when WWE started their network and they had a Stone Cold podcast one of the first nights. He interviewed Vince McMahon, and when Stone Cold was throwing some names out there, he threw Cesaro's out, and Vince said something about brass ring. He said something about he's too European for the millennials, stuff like that. And it felt like it was just an old man talking about young people not liking stuff that he doesn't understand, or liking stuff that he doesn't understand. And Cesaro really feels that way. I think Cesaro, unfortunately, does have like a couple things that he's just never going to get over with, and it's probably more on the mic than anything.
Yeah, he's limited.
He's a wonderful performer, though. He's got great face in the ring. He has a fantastic bod. This guy can pick up a truck.
Yeah.
He's like one of the legitimately strongest men in wrestling. And
yeah, it's just unfortunate they had him I think they have him yodeling at one point, and then he had those thigh straps that look so strange.
They did the James Bond thing. I think his theme now is one of the best he's had. The question is, how many times is Cesaro going to swing Seth Rollins? That's
at least
the
20,
big
right?
one. At least he's going to go for 27 at least.
So a lot of times, Vince, I guess, will like to give people a WrestleMania moment. Seth Rollins has certainly had multiple WrestleMania moments. You think about him cashing, I think, his Money in the Bank contract and defeating Brock Lesnar and who
Roman?
was it? It was Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the bigger pops that he'll ever get in his career. So he probably has had his moment. This feels like it might be Cesaro's WrestleMania moment, maybe almost like who was it? Zack Ryder when he won that Intercontinental title and then lost it the next day. He got his moment and then they forgot about it.
Well, and Seth Rollins, I'm not quite sure who's going to win. I mean, it feels like Cesaro will get his moment is actually getting this match. Hopefully they'll have some good time so that they can actually work out a nice story. I think ultimately Seth will probably be the victor, but depending on what his family situation is with his baby, you could see him off TV for a little bit of time also. I mean, he has, but I don't know how it's working for him. So Cesaro might go over. It really doesn't matter. As long as this is as good as a match as we hope, I think we'll all feel very happy about that.
I'm hoping we get a replay of that Seth Rollins, Randy Orton spot where he goes for the curb stop and then Cesaro throws him in the air and gives him that European uppercut.
Dude, that would be
money.
Freaking sweet.
That's what I'm hoping for, but I'm rooting for Cesaro, and I think they're going to give him his WrestleMania moment on that one. The next match is Braun Strowman versus Shane McMahon in a steel cage. Now, normally, if this was normal rules, the babyface, somehow Braun Strowman would win this. This would be the culmination, but we do have a McMahon in here. There's just some weird stuff about this match that I don't understand. Braun Strowman's talking about his entire life he's been bullied. He's like 6'8", 400 pounds.
I think he came out of the womb 3 feet.
Yeah, like 3 months ago, wasn't he like stalking Adam Pearce and other people on the show, like bullying people? Why is he all of a sudden the defender of the victims of bullying?
Even more than that, on SmackDown, they had I can't remember what the dude's name was, the bald-headed, really super big guy. And he was having promos or backstage segments where he was talking about bullied. Of course, the WWE lets him go, and now Braun Strowman's the one who's been bullied all his life. The other thing about Shane is that he's been coming out, I'm a big businessman. I'm going to come out and talk and run down Braun Strowman and call him stupid. I'm not saying you're stupid, but you're a stupid, like that. No, this is not a very good story, and culminating in a cage. Hopefully it's a culmination.
Shane's going to go coast to coast, possibly off the top of the cage.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way that cage is going to keep anybody out. We're definitely going to see Elias and, was it Riker?
Yeah, I think
that's his lackey. Those guys are definitely going to get involved. So normally Strowman, who's the babyface, should win the steel cage match where he's been bullied for months on end, but it's Shane McMahon. He's going to win.
All right. Well, Shane is a real adept at stealing the heat from the performers that we have to see daily, or at least weekly. And it would be no surprise, and it would not be out of the ordinary for him to take that victory either.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next match, we've got the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships, The New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods versus AJ Styles and his bodyguard Omos. Now, I think the goal is to make the New Day like the 30-time WWE Tag Team Champions. In order for them to achieve that, they do have to lose it a lot. So I'll go with AJ Styles and Omos, but I don't think the story here has been quite compelling. It's a little bit disappointing that this is where they have AJ Styles, who should be one of their premier performers. Obviously, last year he was in there with Undertaker, which was truly, I guess, his last ride at WrestleMania. You wish that he would have got more of a stage to perform here. AJ's not getting any younger, but I'm going to go with AJ and Omos just because the New Day, if they're going to win the titles back, they got to lose.
I think that makes sense. I don't know if that's going to happen though. Maybe not right now, or maybe it'll be one of those, like you said, Zack Ryder, win the belt, lose the belt next night type thing. There's 3 good wrestlers in this match. And out of 4, that's a pretty good number. As long as Omos doesn't come in and do too much and he just does strong things, it should be a pretty well-worked match, and I'm looking forward to it. Not like I'm pinning all my hopes and dreams on WrestleMania on this match, but it'll be a nice one after we got a really good set, like you said, Seth Rollins and Seth Rollins and Cesaro, and then you have that crazy cage match, and this will be a nice tag match. It's a nice different taste. Let's say that.
Yeah, the only way I see AJ losing is if there's problems with him and Omos. They have not even hinted at that happening, so I think.
Well, AJ doesn't know Omos as much as he had thought about, and then when Kofi Kingston said, "Well, you don't even know what color he likes or who his favorite wrestler is," that was pretty much the only thing that they did to make you think that there might be a little bit of a confrontation between AJ and Omos.
So the next one, we've got Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. This was originally going to be Bad Bunny and The Miz, but it's been made a tag match. Damian Priest versus The Miz and John Morrison. At this point, I hate The Miz so much that I hope Bad Bunny knocks his teeth in and he can't talk for a month. I mean, he's so bad on the mic. He's worse than X-Pac at this point.
Wow, listen to you.
It's awful. He's not funny.
You think he's bad on the mic, though?
I think he's nails on a chalkboard bad at this point.
Is that how he's, like, you feel he's been presented to you, or how he comes across to you?
I just think the material that they're giving him is just so awful that there's nobody could do anything with it. And he and Morrison they're awful.
I don't disagree. They often get really, really bad lines, even when they're doing their dirt sheet segments. Every once in a while they end up being good, but it's probably because Morrison and Miz sometimes click. I think Miz is good as far as like he's a good speaker. He knows how to deliver the product. He knows how to show up on screen properly, whether it's in the Fed or out.
Daniel Bryan had their thing going on SmackDown like 3 years ago when Daniel Bryan was the GM. He was awesome.
Yeah.
It's not that he's not capable. It's just what he's been given is terrible.
Yeah. Now, unlike the other tag match, this is one good wrestler and 3 not so good wrestlers. Damian Priest. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Bad Bunny will show me something. Jury's out.
John Morrison, even when he was in Lucha Underground, still had it, but you haven't seen it in WWE since his return.
No, and he is the guy I'm giving the good wrestling credit
I like
to.
Damian Priest. He's for a big guy. He's got moves.
Yeah, he's he always comes. He has been more exciting a person to watch on Raw with Bad Bunny, but when he was on NXT, he just bored me to tears.
Well, they
maybe it was
trying
his
to play him off as a baby face, and he's too big for that brand to be a baby face because everyone's too small.
Right.
It's like, what are you going to do? Make Clarion Cross a baby face too? You could never make anyone think that he's in danger.
Right. Big guys should be heels more often than not.
Yeah, unless you're Drew McIntyre, who can pull off the hot baby face, even though he's like 6'8".
Yeah, exactly.
So in this one, it's a no-brainer. Bad Bunny and Damian Priest are going to whoop them probably in 12 minutes.
So on Raw this week, Miz and Morrison painted on Bad Bunny's like $3 million car or something like that. Yeah. And they obviously did it with water-based paint. It was already streaking off as they were writing it. And it's like, well, this dude, I've heard many people talk about, if you're going to spend so much on a car, I think you can detail it. It ain't that big a deal.
It's still Bugatti, so there's a little bit of heat there, but I want the Miz and Morrison to go away.
Well, and not only that, but Miz and Morrison, when they were feuding with Braun Strowman on SmackDown, they screwed his car up. So it's like, this is a go-to for these guys. Just screw up someone's car to get some heat.
You didn't call him Poopy, right?
No, not this time.
So there's co-main events on this one. Do you think Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair, or Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre are going to go last?
Well, they pretty much have made it sound like it's going to be Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. I think the build-up for it has been piss poor. The performers deserve to be in the main event, but the story hasn't been there. I think the better story is Lashley and McIntyre, but they're going for the women's thing, and it's understandable.
Yeah, they get a headline one of the nights, and that I think that's the right call. So we'll talk about Bobby Lashley, the WWE champion, versus Drew McIntyre. So Bobby Lashley, I think that he probably he might still get cheered, but if he'd been with the Hurt business, I think he would have gotten cheered because those guys were so hot. But they just abruptly broke them up for no reason whatsoever. He still has MVP. I believe they did that so that King Corbin could come in on his behalf and likely try to interfere and and prevent Drew McIntyre from winning. I think the buildup has been pretty good, except for the Hurt business getting like disbanded. It's like for no reason. That's like the coolest thing that was happening on Raw. Raw sucks, but the Hurt business was absolutely money.
The Hurt business was gaining in popularity. Now we're talking about no fans being in attendance, so who knows how they would have really reacted. And that's exactly why they split them up, because Vince was worried that 20 or 30,000 people are going to see the Hurt business come out. Bobby Lashley has the awesome special effects when he's coming out. He is the champ. He looks like a champ. We know he MMAs and all that other stuff. This guy was, boom, going high and hard. And they don't want McIntyre to not be the winner, I think. And splitting them up, putting, I don't know if it's go away heat or super heat or whatever heat, but Baron Corbin, King Corbin coming in and being mixed up with this makes Bobby Lashley more hateable. I don't enjoy that this has happened. I if this is going to be a spectacle, if this is only one night of fans cheering or booing, I really would have liked to have seen what was going to happen here.
Just let the fans do their thing. You know, it felt like the Hurt Business earned this moment, and to strip them of their tag titles and just disband them. Like Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin are going to be in the wasteland forever now. They're never going to get to do anything important. And they were a cool tag team. It was a good group, and it pisses me off. Obviously, Drew McIntyre is going to win this one, and it's too bad because Bobby Lashley, you know, with some of the stuff that they gave him, especially remember the segment with his sisters? Like one of the worst segments in the history of WWE, only to be outdone by Sasha Banks' "This Is Your Life."
Wait, what about Bobby Lashley's wedding to Lana? That was pretty.
The sisters is worse, right? But
I don't know.
Needless to say, yes, that thing that he had with Rusev was awful, where the baby face never actually won. He just kept getting screwed over until I guess they fired him.
Until he goes to AEW.
Yeah. So Bobby Lashley earned this moment. I feel bad for him because he's finally hot and he deserves it. Much hotter than when he main evented WrestleMania with Donald Trump and Mr. McMahon all those years ago. But
sure,
Drew's gonna win, but I wish it was Bobby Lashley. And I wish the Hurt Business was with him.
Yeah, it's hard. I don't sometimes when things are big, when things are good, you have to pay attention to them and work with it. You can't just the WWE often is like 2 months too late. You know, oh, these guys were hot. Well, you can't put it back together now. You know, this is the genie's out of the bottle, you know. The Hurt Business was hot. You were probably going to be able to sell crazy amounts of merchandise at the show. You have representation. It's just like everything was working properly. We're like, who's the woman that's going to join this group? This is going to be the greatest faction ever. And they just broke it apart, and it's really sad. And we've seen it with many performers, Cesaro, Daniel Bryan. And when we start talking about night 2, we'll come back to that. You know, they just dropped the ball a lot of times.
Where's Tucker? Since he and Otis broke up.
Yeah, good question. Where is he?
Plan, never to be seen again.
Well, again, you know, here we go. We have Otis is in a tag team with Tucker. They split up, and now Otis is in a tag with Chad Gable. You know, it's Billy Kay breaks up with Peyton Royce. They are a hot group. They're not great wrestlers, but people really enjoyed them and accepted them. Exactly. Split them up. And then all of a sudden, Peyton Royce is looking for a tag partner. Billy Kay is looking for a tag partner. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
and
he already had it.
It feels that way with Hurt Business again.
Yeah. So the main event on night 1, we're expecting it to be Sasha Banks, Bianca Belair. This is kind of a dream match that I've been looking forward to like for 3 years since Bianca Belair like debuted on NXT.
Mm-hmm.
She was such a fantastic athlete. She just has a different look and feel. Like almost a kind of legitimacy, not like Ronda Rousey, obviously, who's an MMA champion, but kind of like that. She's got that presence about her. But they've just screwed the pooch with the build-up for this one. What's with the sommelier guy? It's almost like when, gosh dang it, who was the dude with the Cobra, where he was the winner?
Oh, Santino Marella?
The Santino was the centerpiece of the women's division. It's like, what's the point? Get him out of here. We want to see what Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair are going to do. Get him out of here. You just basically ruined the push-up to this match.
It's a real easy... They screwed up both Royal Rumble winners this year. We'll only talk about Bianca, who won hers. It's a real simple story. You win the Rumble. You got to face at WrestleMania. You almost don't need to do anything else, and yet there they are vying for the tag championships against Nia and Shayna.
Can they coexist? Can they coexist?
No, they can't.
Of course not.
For a few minutes, Sasha's borrowing Reginald the sommelier. Now he's hanging out with Nia Jax, so he's not going to be a part of this one, but you know, it was just stuff to give them friction. And another problem is that Sasha, left to her own devices on the mic, often comes across pretty heelish. And I like Bianca quite a bit. She's often very likable and personable, but when she's on the mic, she comes across a little bit of a heel also. And there is almost other than who they are and how they perform and what they look like, there's almost no reason to actually like these people. And I hope it's a good match. That's what's most important. I hope it's booked well. I hope it's performed well. And
you got to feel bad for Bayley. Yeah. Like, she's not even on WrestleMania, but I have visions of her in Sasha Banks in Brooklyn.
Well,
probably
maybe
the best female wrestling match I've ever seen. So we know Sasha Banks can rise to the occasion. Now can Bianca Belair? That's the question.
I think she can, and who knows? Maybe Bayley will come out and cause Sasha to not pay attention to what's going on.
The main event of WrestleMania, that would be awful. That would be very Vince McMahon.
It would. It's night 1, not night 2, so this would be a better time to have shenanigans in your main event rather than the last show.
Yeah. This one's tough. I think it's got to be Bianca Belair. This is the coronation, right?
If you want your winner of Royal Rumble, if you want Royal Rumble to be strong, usually you want the winner of that to go on and win at WrestleMania. So, yeah, I think that's how it should go.
Yeah, so that'll cap night 1. Now let's go to night 2. The first match should be the Nia Jax Shayna Baszler, the women's tag team champions, versus the winner of that tag team turmoil match. I think it's going to be Natalya and Tamina. You said you were banking on Lana and Naomi.
Yeah.
Either way, neither of those teams are hot enough or strong enough to beat Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler in just a straight wrestling match if things just happen. But they've been doing this weird thing that makes no sense to me, where they've been portraying Shayna Baszler as like the weak link of the team, even though she has the most credentials as actual a badass like MMA performer. Now her record isn't like Ronda Rousey, but she still had legitimate wins. She was in the UFC there for a bit. So I don't get why they're playing her off as the weak link. That's the only way they're not gonna win, is if maybe Nia Jax does something and Shayna Baszler knocks her out or abandons her.
Yeah, that might actually happen. It makes sense. I don't know why she's
foreshadowing it for over a month now.
Yeah, definitely. Vince loves when you make a name for yourself outside of wrestling. Vince, when you come in, Vince loves to push you down.
King Velasquez.
Yeah, exactly.
Lost in 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, that was probably a good move. In hindsight, that was actually one of Vince's proper moments. Shayna's really good. I think they look at her and she's not pretty. They give her that raccoon makeup, and she's not busty. She's just a kick-ass performer, and I guess that part is not believable for some reason.
Just a unique look to her that it makes her stand out from the crowd. That should be like her biggest strength. But you're right; it's likely the reason that she doesn't get her just due. I remember when she who was she biting in the neck? Was that
Oh my God, was that Asuka? Oh, that was. Whatever, that was so bad.
Old Vampire was like, what are they doing with this? Why is she biting people in the neck? She's a badass.
She can take her fist
she can go by
punch
the rules.
it through your face.
Yeah.
That's way cooler than biting. So everybody can bite somebody. I do. I bite a burger every day, or something.
It feels like she should have been, kind of earmarked for bigger things, but it's unfortunate. So,
I agree.
Champs
retain unless there's some shenanigans.
Yeah, I think there's shenanigans. I think Shayna Baszler does something and has to walk out. So the next match we've got WWE United States Championship, Matt Riddle, the champion, versus Sheamus. I think he might just be Riddle now, which is ridiculous. Now. So Matt Riddle would have been like one of the hottest commodities outside of the WWE until maybe 2 or 3 years ago when he got brought in from Progress. And I've seen Vince drop the ball on a lot of people. Man, does he make Matt Riddle look like a stoned out of his mind doofus that's worth nothing?
They think that's funny. Oh my God, did you see how he comes out in the ring? They do those animations for people.
Yeah.
And he gets out, he does his flip so his flip-flops come off his feet, and then birds of different colors literally fly out his ass.
Beautiful.
They come to the screen just like that. And it's like, what the hell? And yeah, he's portrayed as a look. You can be stoned, but it's like, dude, where's my car? Everybody's calling people stoners, and no one's even
You know that
smoking
Matt
pot.
Riddle legitimately beat John Jones. Now, they were teenagers when it happened. Like, he defeated John Jones in a wrestling match.
Damn, I didn't
He's
know that.
won UFC fights, multiples. The only reason he wasn't in the UFC was because he couldn't pass, a drug screening because of his medical marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not. He's a good fighter.
He's a badass.
Yes.
Yeah. He's got great moves.
As a moron.
So I think this will be a good match, though. When Vince was down on Riddle, and they were jobbing him out when he first got on Raw, he had a match against Sheamus, I do believe it was, and he put Sheamus over so well, and the match was so crisp and awesome that all of a sudden that made a difference, and they were like, oh, this guy might be something. He lost against that other guy I can't think of right now. Mia Yim's husband.
Keith Lee.
Keith Lee, thank you. There you go. Mia Yim's husband, Keith Lee. He lost to him, and then they had that three-way, and then eventually he had that match against Lashley where it was stupid, and he used a cane or a chair to win. Riddle's been booked horribly. He's just a good wrestler, and he'll probably lose this one.
It's crazy. Sheamus is not my favorite performer, but when he gets a chance to toss somebody around that's going to actually bump for him, he looks amazing. Yeah. So I agree with you that this is going to be hard hitting. Matt Riddle's got a few tricks up his sleeve, so this should be. I don't know. Maybe this will be the match of the night, just as far as the night 2 match that could really.
I think if they give it time, it will be.
Cesaro and Rollins is like that match that really stands out. Unfortunately, I do see Riddle losing. It feels like they've been trying to play Sheamus up. Felt like he was going to be in the main event here with a triple threat with Keith Lee and Drew McIntyre, but obviously things have changed.
Yeah.
And I think they'll get him the win here in a pretty good hard-hitting match.
I hope so. Yeah.
Next up, we got Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn with Logan Paul is I guess the wild card here. I absolutely love Sami Zayn's documentary trailer. It was just as unhinged as he's been portrayed lately. He has he's really running with this weird conspiracy theory thing. It feels like Kevin Owens was just kind of added at the last minute because they needed him to wrestle somebody. So the build hasn't been great, but man, Sami Zayn has been on fire with this weird conspiracy theory thing. That trailer was great.
I'm glad to hear you like that. I think Sami Zayn, so for those of you at home that don't know, he was a wrestler that didn't speak English under a mask named El Generico, and we didn't know what we were going to get from him when he came into NXT, FCW, all that other stuff. But as the years have gone on and he's gotten stronger on the mic, he really portrays a character. He goes over the top, and it's perfect because wrestling is stupid, and you have to be able to sell it 100% all the time. And that's even when you're portraying a stupid character. You got your Matt Riddle, who can't play this stoner character that Vince wants him to play. But here we have Sami Zayn, probably something that's not normal for him, these conspiracy things. And he's just totally taking it over the top. Really good.
It's crazy. When you look at the WWE and the wrestlers that they have, the only person I think that can challenge Daniel Bryan for pure white meat babyface is Sami Zayn. But man, he can do a damn good heel too.
Yeah, he can. Yeah, Logan Paul is just there so that 2 million YouTube viewers might pay attention for half a minute.
Is he gonna get the Mike Tyson pin on this one?
Yeah, maybe. I just can't wait till Wes from Thinking Critical is on a WWE show someday.
Hey, I'll do it.
Who do you want to be matched up with?
I'll do Sami Zayn. He looks like he's probably pretty safe, right?
Yeah. You do have to take a haluva kick and a couple moves.
But Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, obviously they have a long history from the independents. When Kevin Owens came into NXT, Sami Zayn was the babyface champion. Kevin Owens, I believe, beat him like his first night. Well, he attacked him on his first night and beat him on his first pay-per-view. And they've been kind of going at it ever since. They did have that time when they were a tag team, which I actually quite liked. So the match is going to be good. It's going to be, I hope they get some time and Logan Paul doesn't interfere too much.
Yeah, it might be my only tempering of that was it might be a little bit more comedy than we expect or stalling, because Sammy being the way he is, but just take that, and understand that, it's going to be done well, whatever it is.
Yeah. And I imagine Sami Zayn's going to be the one that wins this since he's the only one that really has a storyline going.
Maybe, unless they want to just keep that conspiracy thing going. And then, it's a conspiracy that I lost.
Yeah, if Logan Paul counts it, and he wasn't.
That's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
that's what's going to happen. Logan Paul counts the 3
again. Yeah, that would make sense. And this next one, this is the first time I've ever heard of this match: a Nigerian drum fight for the WWE Intercontinental Championship. Big E, the champion, versus Apollo Crews under his new. What is it? It's like his.
He's Nigerian.
Yeah. Well, his old gimmick from when he was in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, I believe it was.
He was a character called Uha Nation.
Yeah.
I've asked a lot of people, but they've never seen Uha Nation, so I don't know if he spoke with an accent.
It was actually it was in Hollywood Wrestling, something Hollywood Wrestling.
Okay.
I used to watch it. Yeah, he was actually really good.
Did he do the accent thing then? Do you know?
I think he did. I like what he's doing, but I hate the accent. Because we know that it's not real.
Yeah,
it's distracting.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm as he gets more comfortable speaking in that style, hopefully it will, his promos will be a little bit better. But I think he's actually been able to be more personable working that style than he was prior. Again, it might be a stupid gimmick, but if you go 100%, it will play off properly in the end, or at least you hope it will.
Well, it's been a hot angle between Apollo Crews and Big E. The only problem is Big E he's got some of that Sting syndrome where he's the dumbest baby face in the history of the world, like turning his back when he definitely shouldn't, getting brain for it. So there's no way I don't see Big E winning this. This feels like a Nigerian drum fight is going to be the signature match for Apollo Crews, possibly moving to the future. So I imagine he's going to win this one. I'm looking forward to this, and I can't wait for Apollo to get an actual good run. I think he had a run on the U.S. title, but
but
he's a good worker who's just he got rushed to the main roster too fast. He should have been in NXT longer.
Yeah, but Apollo's done well, I think, for himself. He's think of him as like, he's in his second year of Raw or SmackDown, whatever you want to call it, and then maybe the next 2 or 3 years he'll really rise. But he's good. Yeah.
So this next match, I hate this match. I hate everything about it. I hate that it's still going. Nothing makes sense about the Fiend with Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton. Technically, Randy Orton should be in prison since he burned somebody alive.
He did. I saw it.
And now the Fiend has come back. He's horribly disfigured mask, and Alexa Bliss apparently has the powers of the devil. She can make things fall from the ceiling and all kinds of stupid
shooting
things.
Fireballs.
It was pretty interesting when they first started the Fiend Alexa Bliss marriage kind of thing, where she was kind of part of the story, but she's become way too powerful. They have defined none of this as far as what she's capable of. Even when the Undertaker first came out, his power was derived from the urn. Mm-hmm. So there was a way to stop him. This is just hokey pokey bullcrap. This should be one of those cinematic matches that doesn't sound like it is, and that will detract from it. And I'm not looking forward to this, and I will be happy when the Fiend Randy Orton matches are over. I'm ready for it to be dead.
Yeah, I'm ready for it also. This is definitely the bathroom break moment for the show, especially since Peacock, you can't pause or rewind.
So I don't have Peacock. I'm in the Philippines.
Uh-huh.
I still have WWE Network, and I
Lucky.
can't even pause and rewind my stuff anymore. And you can't just jump from match to match anymore.
Oh,
it's the worst.
They screwed it all up, man.
Yes, that was the best part, is you could go skip the crap that you didn't want to watch.
The network was quite good, and I'm really sad that it's gone, but I am happy that I'm not paying an extra $10 a month.
I thought I was going to get the network here in the Philippines, and you guys were going to have to deal with Peacock, but all the Peacock crap is kind of dribbling down to us too. I was very disappointed in that.
So sorry about that. Almost as sorry as I am that I'm going to have to be around for this Randy Orton Fiend match.
So they've already murdered somebody. They burnt them alive. Like, how do you end this thing? We've seen Randy Orton. Wasn't he on a TV like spitting up black stuff or maybe spouting it himself?
He gets this
Papa Shango crap.
Yeah, this viscous liquid coming out of his mouth. He's like, "Give me a towel." And wipes it off, and it's black, and it's like stupid. Yeah, well, I mean, I'd probably be throwing up if I knew I had to go and wrestle the Fiend also. So, not looking forward to it. And I don't really care who wins or how it ends, as long as it does.
Yeah, I guess the Fiend. I'll pick the Fiend. I guess since he was burned alive, technically. Sure. That probably makes him the baby face, even though I guess
this is definitely one of those situations. Like, who's face and who's heel here? Randy's burning people. The Fiend's coming back from the dead. He threatens you with murder anyway. And then there's Alexa Bliss humping Randy's stomach.
It's so strange. There are no winners in this match, only losers.
Yeah,
especially the fans. So let's get up to the WWE Raw Women's Championship. Asuka, Rhea Ripley. This should be an interesting match.
Mm-hmm.
They really dropped the Rhea Ripley ball last year heading into WrestleMania, throwing her into that Charlotte Flair match. She should have won that one. Mm-hmm. She lost all of her momentum. And then they called her up to Raw late, and they debuted her in a weird spot because I guess Charlotte is sick. It wasn't cleared with I think it might have been COVID. I'm not certain, but she wasn't able to face Asuka on WrestleMania. So she just decided to show up and say, "Hey, you're gonna wrestle me."
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay,
that was the build. In one night of Raw, they set like 5 matches.
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
It should be a good match. It's got a good feel to it. Rhea Ripley, obviously, if you haven't seen her down in NXT. Or when she debuted on the Royal Rumble, a few other matches, she's a powerhouse.
She's a monster.
She's quite impressive. She can do some things, and obviously Asuka can basically wrestle anybody. So it should be a good match. I just really wish it's hard to get invested, especially since Rhea Ripley is probably going to win here.
Yeah, she had to go and turn heel on Asuka, even though a couple weeks prior Asuka was fighting Shayna in a return match to, basically do some pretty heelish moves. And I'm like, all right, I'm thinking we're going to get some heel Asuka to face Rhea Ripley, who's coming up. She's pretty, she's big, she's got the really good back and everything. And you think that she's going to be the face going against Asuka. And they totally did a reverse last week. And Rhea's the heel, Asuka's the face. I don't know. I think they've talk about dropping the ball. Asuka, she might be champ, but it was like, this has been one of the not very strong championship runs that anybody has ever had. And I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. Anytime Charlotte's around, it feels like everything is still revolving around her, even though she's not
sucks
involved.
All the air out of the room.
She really does. And anything that happens resulting from this, it's just a wait and see to see what's going to happen with Charlotte going forward. So I'm not really excited about what's going to come after this match, but in its own little world, this bubble, I think this should be a very good one. And I'm looking forward to it.
I miss the Asuka Kairi Sane heel tag team where she was just yelling nonsense.
The Kabuki Warriors, yeah.
It's been crazy. It was such a fun time for her, but she's kind of lost all of her steam now. And, it's probably time for a new champ and give her something else to do. But definitely Rhea Ripley going to win that one. Although I think this is going to be a hell of a match, especially they let Rhea Ripley be a hoss. Toss around
yeah, and not only that, Asuka just she lays them in good too, and should be a fun match.
So finally, we've got the main event of WrestleMania, the real main event. Roman Reigns, the champion, with Paul Heyman versus Edge versus Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match. Been another interesting build to this one. I guess they didn't think Edge was working out as the baby face to Roman Reigns' heel. I imagined maybe they didn't think Edge would get cheered over Roman Reigns, so they decided to add in Daniel Bryan to the equation. I'm not going to complain about that because I love Daniel Bryan. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. I also prefer Edge as a heel. And as far as I'm concerned, Roman Reigns is the, he's the franchise right now. He's the best performer that they have. Has been for quite some time in the role that he has. I think Roman Reigns is dynamite as the head of the table, as the head of the family kind of thing. I think this is going to be good. I would prefer it just to be a one-on-one match, but if you're going to do a triple threat, throw Daniel Bryan in there, I can get with it. What have you thought about the build? Do they need Daniel Bryan for this to be a main event?
I think that the crowd being back is part of the reason why Daniel Bryan has been inserted. Also, supposedly Vince McMahon has seen what Edge looks like and feels he looks a little too old.
He does look a little old.
He does. Well, I mean, he has the lines in his face. Dude's ripped. He looks like in great shape still, and he can still go. We've seen it with Randy Orton and a few other matches, but
he also hurt himself both times that he wrestled.
Yes, he did. These are all factors and probably the reason why Daniel Bryan's there. Also, if Roman Reigns should lose this match, because he probably will, probably to the Royal Rumble winner, you don't think so? I think he is. I think Edge is going to win. I don't like this, but I think Daniel Bryan's there also to take the loss.
I'm hoping the other Uso shows up and helps Roman Reigns out. Although you don't want a screwy finish on WrestleMania, but I don't want Roman Reigns to lose to anybody. I want him to be the champ for like 2 or 3 years, and when finally someone beats him, like it'll feel really big.
Well, if you pin Bryan, then you didn't really beat Roman
do
Reigns.
The Triple H Vince McMahon mental gymnastics. If Roman doesn't win the match, he didn't win.
Yeah, but he didn't lose either.
Yes, he did.
He just lost his belt. Hey, man, it's you're right. It is screwy booking
by not letting them take the pin. Listen, if they lost, they lost.
Okay, well, fine. Roman Reigns is losing.
Come on. The head of the table? No way.
Well, I think the spin-off matches with Edge as a champion against Roman Reigns, against Daniel Bryan, and potentially any other people. I mean, that right there is half a year.
Well, I would hope that I want to see Edge and Daniel Bryan after this. That's the match that I think would have been much more interesting than the Edge versus Randy Orton stuff we had already seen before. Edge with a new opponent that was more fresh, that they could do, make some new memories with. And I'm hoping that's what we get after this.
Sure. I do too. I hope Edge comes out of this strong.
Or Edge AJ Styles. How did that not happen? Dream match.
There's a lot of those out there with Edge, especially now. Depending on how long he can stick around, not get injured, etc.
He's always supposed to do 2 or 3 matches a year, right?
Yeah, I don't even know. Those contracts are a little funky sometimes and you don't know exactly everything, but I don't know, man. I think Edge is going to win. Again, keeping the Royal Rumble winner strong is probably more important right now than Roman, because Roman Reigns is still, he'll have a lot of story as a result. He can get upset with Paul. I was looking forward to a Roman Reigns, hopefully Brock Lesnar situation going forward, but we haven't heard really much from Brock. So unless there's
Roman Reigns loses, it better be because of Jey Uso, so that he can finally kick him out of the family because he's been worthless for months.
Well, it might be. We'll see how that. This last match should be very exciting. It should have some good spots and some good wrestling, but it should tell the best story over the weekend also.
Well, we remember the last time Daniel Bryan made it into a triple threat championship match at WrestleMania, where he wasn't the winner of the Royal Rumble. He came out victorious. So there is precedent for it.
There is.
I don't think Edge has a chance to win. He's the only one that I don't think can win. I think it'll be Roman or Daniel Bryan due to the limitations of Edge.
Anybody that wins, I'm going to be probably pretty happy. I'm looking forward, talking about this with you. I'm really getting excited about this match because I don't know what they're going to do. And as opposed to some of the other things that we are watching, we talked about, it kind of feels like you do know that Bianca is going to win. You kind of do know that Sheamus is probably going to beat Riddle, but this one, not quite sure. I'm like that. I like that.
Another reason that it's smart to add Daniel Bryan in here was Roman's at his best when he's a bully and he's throwing people around, and then maybe they get a move on him here or there. He wasn't going to be able to throw Edge around like that. He's a little too fragile. He still has the neck issues, even if he's been cleared. So Daniel Bryan's going to be able to be in there, and he's going to get to take the big moves, probably take a spear or two from both of them. I hope it doesn't end up being like a spear versus spear contest in the end, but that's probably what we're looking at. But I'm with you. I think this is going to be hot. The last few times they've done triple threat main events at WrestleMania, they've always delivered and been very hot all the way to the end. And it does add that bit of intrigue on who's going to win. I'm going for Roman Reigns. I'm firmly at the head of the table, right behind him. And it sounds like you are firmly in the corner of Edge.
Yeah, I guess I am. Keep the Royal Rumble strong. Keep the stories fresh. And with him as champ, I think that happens a little bit more. Although the head of the table is an awesome storyline.
It is. I love it. I'm still waiting for the other Uso to come back. But So that'll basically wrap it up for WrestleMania 2021 in Tampa. Our predictions, we cannot wait to see this. And like I said at the beginning, if you enjoyed this, if you want Wes and Heel Uel talking wrestling every week, we can do it. We can wrap up Raw, we can wrap up SmackDown, NXT, AEW, in a nice little 1 hour package. Just let us know in the comments section. And we hope you enjoy WrestleMania. And who do you think is going to win? Is it going to be Roman? It's going to be Edge. It's going to be Daniel Bryan. Let us know.
Yeah, have a good night.